Hello, everyone. Thanks for showing up today. We're going to get started just here in a few minutes. We appreciate you attending today's Advanced Features webinar, one of four. We're looking forward to getting started, but we're going to wait a couple minutes before we get started. Hello, everyone. It's me again, Blake, one of the customer success managers here with Concord. Thanks to everybody who's joining. We're going to get started here in a few minutes. I hope everybody's having a good day, good morning, depending on where you're at. I know we're right on the cusp, depending on where you're at in the world. Hope everybody's having a good day. We're going to get started with our advanced features webinar, starting with the clause library here in a few minutes. Get comfortable. We might start a couple minutes after the hour. Now that we're at 11, we're not going to start in the full content just yet, but I would love to start getting people engaged. I want to direct you guys to the chat. It's in the bottom, and there's also a Q&A section. To direct you there. Again, I want to let you know that the chat is open. Hello there. Thanks for jumping in already. We love when people are engaged on these webinars. We love when people are asking questions and being involved. I will ask you some questions, so feel free to go to the chat, throw some comments in there, throw some questions. We have 30 minutes scheduled for today, and I don't think we'll use all of that time just for the clause library stuff. I ask that your questions, at least in the very beginning, be directed towards like clause library things or things that we've covered. However, I anticipate there being time. So if you have Concord questions, my job as a customer success manager and our job on the CS team is to support you. So feel free to ask those questions at the end when we have our general Q&A question time. But everybody, I want to direct you to the chat right now, depending on whether it's morning or not. I'm curious. Actually, no, I want to switch it up. We're going to be talking about clause library today, which can be used for single documents, but also there's a feature that can be optimized for templates. So if you guys go to the chat and drop in, if you guys utilize our templates feature, if you guys are using templates, type in templates in the chat. If you guys use us for single documents, type single docs in the chat. I'm really curious. We see some templates there. So I'm going to make sure to cover some more templates. Templates all day. Let's go. Templates are huge. It's good feedback for us. I'm actually wondering this. More templates, more templates. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. That's good to know. It helps me know whether or not to direct my how to direct my information. Templates, templates. Awesome. Okay, cool. Great. Well, thank you all for being engaged. I'm going to continue going there. Single docs. Shout out to the single docs. There's no correct way or incorrect way to use Concord. We have a whole bunch of tools that are available to you, and however you use it is awesome. And we want to support you. And so us as you're on the CS team can help you accomplish what you're looking for with our given tools and so much and so forth. All right, I see a feature request in here that we'll make sure to report to the team. All right, But we're going to get started. We're going to get started here with the clause library webinar, and I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right. So what we're going to start with is we're going to start just about talking about what is the clause library? What does it do and how do you use it? How do I create clauses? Let me make sure I have the chat and the Q&A popped up in here. Again, I wanted to make sure for all the new people that are jumping in, we do have a chat, we do have a Q&A for you to throw information in there. But here I'm at my Concord home screen. This should be familiar to you. I think I'm mostly talking to current customers here on this call today, but even if you're a new customer, we're not going to talk about anything necessarily too complicated or too advanced. But the clause library is really helpful for people to utilize Concord, definitely to sign agreements. If you don't know, you're all paying for. If you're a customer of Concord, you're paying for unlimited docs, unlimited signatures. So you all can be electronically signing documents. They'll hold up in court. We follow all the regulations and certifications that we need in order to make them legally binding. But the clause library is helpful if you're like drafting agreements. If you're tired of typing out all of these clauses by hand, you would benefit from the clause library. And then there's even an additional feature that's cool in there as well. To find your clause library, where you're going to go is the lightning bolt down here in the bottom, or I guess on the left-hand side. Clicking there, you'll go then to the clause library. At the clause library, you'll see a list of your clauses. This is where you can see them at a glance. So this portion that I'm at right now is only usable to people with like creator roles. So creators, creator team managers, creator administrators, right? Those three are our default roles that have this feature available to you. Or excuse me, that have like the ability to create clauses from the homepage. And then custom roles that I think like configure library or configure clauses, I think is a company role that you can assign to people. If you're curious about who have permission to access this page, reach out to us. We'd be happy to help. Also, I want to highlight this right at first. If you have questions that don't get answered or that you just didn't want to answer, I'll have a way that you can connect directly with us. But I do just want to make sure you're aware of our support email, support@concord.app. If you need help, like saying, hey, I need to set up certain people to have access to the clause library, send us an email there, support@concord.app. But let's keep going here. Again, we're in our clause library. If you've never utilized this feature before, this is going to be empty. You can see here I've populated about 6 clauses in here, given them some text. You can see what it will say in the document. But when I'm ready to create a clause, I come up here to the Add Clause button. Here as well, I'll add a title, I'll add a description, and then I'll even add the text of the clause here as well. The most important piece being the clause text and the clause title. The description is helpful if maybe you're creating clauses for your for workers or for just like the individuals to use when they're creating documents, right? Your collaborators, your creators, something like that. And so the description is helpful maybe if you make a certain clause that has a title that's important, and keep in mind here the title doesn't appear in the document, nor does the description. But if the title isn't descriptive enough and you want to say, hey, you use this title when, or use this clause when X happens, you put that in the description. And then the text, this is actually what shows up in the body of the document when you fully execute it and so on and so forth. And so let me give you an example here. Maybe I'll do annotation clause. Or maybe if you're a fan of bad abbreviations and bad jokes, you might go Santa Claus there. And then I'm just going to bring in just a random text here. Right? This is what shows up in the document, just so you can ignore this. I have a question here. Any plans to add folders or tagging features to the clause library? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. I think there's something for us to explore. Feel free to reach out with details, or we can stay after and you can explain more of what you're looking for there. But once you're ready with what you want here in your clause, you'll save it, and now this will be available to you later on down the road when you're creating documents. So any other questions here just on creating clauses? And again, let me reread this to make sure. Any plans to add folders or tagging features to the clause library? None that I'm aware of, but I've been saying this in all of our webinars, and I mean it. We're in a really, really exciting time at Concord. We are hyper focused on what you guys want. We're not just creating things that we think are beneficial. We're trying to do our best to listen to what you guys want to see and then create those. And so feel free to send us more details, set up for time on our calendars. I'll send you a link later on how to do that. But let us know exactly what you're looking for. There's no promises that we're going to be able to make it. We have to think about it, all of our users, but we want to know what you want Concord to look like. We want to know what's beneficial for you. So let us know all about your feature requests. All right, I do have a question here. Can language in the saved clause be modified in the future? That is a very good question. That is a very good question. And so I always can come to any of these clauses. Maybe let's say I have a cancellation clause and I realize, oh shoot, I need to edit this. What I am able to do is I'm able to come in here and maybe delete, maybe add a word. It's good. It's a test environment, so I'm not affecting anything. What we'll do is we'll save this, and then any templates that have it, it will update in those templates. But the docs that currently have these clauses in them, it won't update. So with this question where it's asked, can language in the saved clause be modified in the future? I can modify it for templates by just coming to the clause library and editing it. But if documents have these clauses in them, like individual drafts or documents in the review stage, the signing or sign stage, those won't be modified. So I hope I answered your question. I'm going to say I did. If I need to give you more details, let me know there. Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to help. Okay, so I have more details on the question about any plans to add folders or tags features to the clause library. Let's say a clause only pertains to a certain section of our standard agreement, which we have a template for. I love the ability to clearly mark which section that is. That's a great feature request. So no, we don't have any plans. I love the details. Thanks for including them. There's no plans that I'm aware of to add them, but we're going to record this for you and make sure. We might even reach out to you. We have your information should we need more details. So thanks for that. So we've created our clauses here. I'm going to update this one. Again, all the templates will be added, will be changed. But you can add any document that you can edit, whether it's a document in the draft or the review stage, or even templates, right? Those are the three stages where you can modify the actual body of a document. You can add clauses to. So I asked earlier, do we use templates? Do we use single docs? I'm going to first start with an example in single docs, but then we're going to go to a template as well. And I can show you even a more advanced feature that uses clauses in templates. So what I'm going to go to now is I'm going to go to the big pink new document button. This is where you find, this is where you can start with a document. I'm going to hit draft and sign and just start with a single document. I'm going to bring in a Word file, just a sales agreement, for example, just to bring it in, just something that really doesn't really matter to me right now, but I'm sure matters to you. The important thing to note when you want to use the clause library, when you want to draft agreements and you want to bring those clauses into your document, you need to be in live mode and you need to bring in a Word document. So a docx file, something along those lines, bring it in and you're going to have to use the live document mode because that's when you can take advantage of the clause library. If you're familiar with Concord, you can add signers and all of your summary or some of your panel information here. I'm just going to go straight into the document, and really we're wanting the clause library focus. All right. So here, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with, I can edit the document. I can highlight and delete text. Right. I can add extra bullet points here and there, right? And so let me show you now how the clause library works. So once I'm in edit mode, that's when I can add clauses from my clause library. The clause library can be found up here in the insert button and insert clause from clause library. Now I can see my library of clauses, that repository that I've built. And again, I don't think I've actually said this yet. You can have as many clauses as you want. There might be a technical limitation, but let's push it, guys. Add all the clauses that you can to your clause library. Make it beneficial to you. I think it's worth putting in the time because what I can do now from this section is I can expand these. Maybe I want to see what the information is. Keep in mind, I'm not able to edit the clauses from this area. This is just where I can click them and add them in. But if I'm ready to maybe add a confidentiality clause, I click the bubble. I can even preview it if I want to read the text. Oh, I see something that I'm going to have to edit actually in the body of the document. Actually, maybe that's a poor example. You can't do that. I copied these, sorry. So cancellation clause, right? I'm just going to bring this in and we're going to go to insert here. So when I bring in a clause, it's going to appear like this. I want to cover one thing right off front. When this document is fully executed, it's this big purple box is not going to be in your final copy. It's not going to be in the document that's sent to the customer. Depending on the customer's role, and I'll show you exactly what the customer sees, they may or may not even see the purple box. It may just look like regular text. So it's important to note this is not going to be this some big purple ugly block in your document. You don't have to worry about that. And we will tell you the clause as the editor of the document, like the title, but you don't have to worry. This is not something that we'll include in the actual body of the document. And so some of you people that are very detail oriented might notice this is center aligned. You see here it's center aligned. That's because the text here will match the text that's in the section that it's in. And so I put right under the title my clause, but you'll notice if I drop it in here to the just general paragraph, just by simply dragging and dropping it, it'll now go left aligned. Same thing goes for the alignment also applies to the font and the font styles, right? If I drop it into the middle of date right here, where it's a bold font, right? It'll all be bolded as well. So I'm not able to come in and modify, highlight anything and change it, but we will match whatever it's around, whatever it's smacked and dropped in the middle of, we'll match it, right? So I can delete this if I don't like it. Also, what I can do, let's say I want to add it to certain bulleted sections. This is something that you guys will probably use. You'll notice that it went from the far left of my screen to the far right of my screen. When I brought it in, if I bring it into a bulleted area, I go back to insert clause from library, just choose that again, you'll notice it shrinks to the appropriate space. I can do the same thing here. Maybe I want to bring it in to number 2, point D. I can bring in another clause. You'll notice I can bring it in as many as I want, and that will shrink down as well, right? So again, you can add them to the bulleted areas and you can do all of that fun stuff. All righty. And then I have this edit button here. Notice that the edit button, if you remember, I say you can't change like what actually is included there, right? You have to go back to your clause library. Maybe this is a good use. I'm glad we have so many template people because I love a clause library for your templates. But if I hit the edit button, I can maybe add it, I can change it, and so it'll just appear as something different. What I'm going to move on to next is showing you what it looks like from the external party's point of view, and we're actually going to execute the document. While I'm setting that up though, please go to the chat if you guys have any other questions. Let me know. Throw them in the chat if you have any questions while I'm setting up my external signer. All right, we have another feature request here. Yeah, love it. So we have another one here. Being able to highlight text in an agreement and add it to the clause library from within the document. So I'm thinking what you're saying is being able to highlight something here, maybe right click or something, and being able to add it to your clause library. I think that's a great idea. Instead of having to go into a different tab to access the clause library, add it there would be fantastic. I love that. I love that. If you like that, if you think that would be beneficial to you, go to the chat, say highlight. Go to the chat. If you think that this would be a good feature to be able to highlight your text and add it to the clause library straight from here, we want to build things that multiple people think would be beneficial. So let us know in the chat if you would like that. So I've set up my signer highlights. We're seeing them. That's awesome. Thank you guys for your input. I'm bringing him in here. Man, I love it. I love it. It's also encouraging. I think that you guys are seeing benefit then in the clause library if you think that feature would be beneficial to you. Okay, I've added my signer. I've added a preset signature block for him. Let's share the document with them. What I'm going to do at first is add my friend John Bradley, CEO of Skateboards R Us. I'm going to add him just as a limited editor. I'm going to keep him as a limited editor so that you can see what it looks like. Oh, I have another question in the chat. What if the clause has a fill-in section within the clause? Will you be able to edit that fill-in spot once you insert it into the document? That's a great question. I actually, when I was showing earlier, one of the examples that I was going to use had like the word X in it for something for you to fill. I don't recommend you do that. I have a different option for you, actually something that you're going to be interested in. And one of our most underutilized but really powerful features called a clause selector. So no, you cannot edit the clause actually once it's in the document, but I have some options if there's like some variable information for you. So the question again, to rephrase, was what if the clause has a fill-in section within the clause? Will you be able to edit that fill-in spot once you insert it into the document? The answer is no, but I have a solution for you that I'll get to a little bit later. All right. So I've shared the document with my external party. Again, I added him as a limited editor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share that screen now, and we're going to go into John Bradley's email inbox, open up the email, and get into that document. There we go. I've sent two. You saw I was testing. I wanted to make sure to have a good experience for you guys. So John gets into the document with continue into document. If you, as you notice, no purple blocks here. No purple blocks here. Instead, we have those extra bullets that I added. You see here, here's one information. Here's one clause that I added in point in number 1. Here's one point in number 2, right? So that's visible and available to them to see as a part of the body of the document, but they're not able to modify it. They are still able to sign, as I'm sure you're familiar with. They can go on and do that. And so I'm not going to fully do it, but I do want to show you one more thing is what it looks like if they are a full editor of the document. I'm going to go back in my other screen and just modify it. As a reminder, we have 3 document level permissions: editor, limited editor, and viewer. Editors can only fill fields that are assigned to them and sign the document. Editors, which I'm changing John to, can actually edit the body of the document. If you guys utilize track changes, this is what you are most likely making people when you add them to the document. But the view when they're an editor, so notice I have the edit button and I can highlight and delete text, right? Showing that I'm an editor, the view looks a little bit different. We do just let them note, right, that there's a clause in here. They're not able to edit it. If you maybe want to give people the option to suggest changes around certain clauses, maybe suggest that they add a comment here, an inline comment highlighting the press the plus button. But this is what it looks like from the external signer's point of view when you add clauses. Now, finally, what I want to show, let me actually sign the document now. As a reminder, you can choose fonts, you can draw your signature, you can even upload a signature image. Fun little, neat little thing. Actually, the cursive line doesn't necessarily matter as much as like the timestamp and the IP address and all of those sorts of things. But anyway, we have those options for you. So now I have a signed agreement. You do see the clauses that were brought in, but if I download the document as a PDF, save it here and check it out in another tab, you'll notice it is plain text. It's plain text, looks how you would want to see it in a formal document that you might take to court or something along those lines, right? Okay. Any questions for me yet? What I'm going to do now is show you the clause selector, a super cool tool, kind of talking about those like variable clauses. Any questions about what I've covered so far that I can cover? Okay. I'm moving on because I don't see anything right now. Keep typing if you are, not to stop you if you're typing out a question. But to show you this clause selector, one of my favorite features that I don't necessarily feel is underutilized. If you are utilizing it, I'm sure, or I hope you love it, and I bet you probably do. But I think it's best used for templates. You can use it for whatever you want, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit new document and create a template, just a standard template, and I'm going to upload that same exact Word doc just because it's familiar and I have it accessible, and I'm going to go straight into live mode. Kind of racing through that here due to time, but I bring in the document. You can see in the top left corner that I'm in a template. For those of you that aren't templates, if you're not using them because it just doesn't match with your business use case, that's totally great. But if you're not using templates because you necessarily don't know the benefit of them, I love them because what I can do now is if I have a sales agreement in here and the text is for the most part going to stay the same, but might need to be changed every once in a while, I can just quickly pump out new drafts from these templates. It's really helpful. But let's go into the edit mode, right? So I can edit the body of the document. And let's talk about the clause selector. This is the time when you maybe have like clauses that are variable. Maybe in certain situations, it has situation A. In other situations, it has a different text. And maybe just small things change. You can add alternative clauses and even choose them for the specific situation or allow your users to choose them. So it's going to be found in the same section up here in the insert button. And I'm going to choose clause selector. In this example, I'm going to make a statute of limitations clause. if I'm using this incorrectly, or if the time frame never really changes in your use case, don't add that to the chat because um, I'm not here to do your job. But I'm just going to choose it as an example because it has that variable answer, that fill-in field that somebody asked in the question and answer. So I'm going to bring in a statutes of limitations clause, right? So here what I want to say is add your title, statute of limitation clause, and then give it the body, copying and pasting just from something I'd prepared earlier. And so you notice this one, the statute of limitation is 3 years. So maybe I'm going to add that to this. Keeping in mind the title doesn't show up, but the body of the document does, the body of the clause does. But let's say sometimes, depending on the use case, I might have statute of limitations that last 5 years. So I'm going to copy that here, and I'm going to say, in this situation, it says 5 years. I'm going to do the same thing, but create one that says 15 years. So the idea here, I'm going to create a bunch of different clauses that I can have that are selectable. So I can reselect these, and you can actually assign who selects these clauses. So I have 3 clauses in here, right? A default clause that's going to appear in the document, but 2 alternative clauses that I can add. I can add more if I want to, more alternative clauses. I can go, 30 years, 28 years, whatever I want. I can even choose who it's fillable by. We allow you kind of the same as like the fields. It's similar functionality, right? I can choose if I had a signer, I could choose one of those signers to fill it. Someone from the company, I can assign that here. An external guest, and either external guest that's been added to the document or just anyone. I think in most use cases, you probably want it to be an internal user because you want to provide a neat document to your individual. So I'm going to hit save here and bring in that clause. I'm going to bring in that statutes of limitations clause. I'm going to save it, and just to highlight the use cases, the last thing I'm going to cover, and then we're going to have Q&A here. We have this clause selector in here. So when my users are ready to come in and create a draft off of this sales agreement, they might do it from the home page, or they may open up your template, but they're going to go to start draft. Give it a quick tag. You notice we're in a new document because we're in the draft stage. And now here, I'm creating this document, I'm going to send it out, and I have the ability to choose and select an alternative clause. The functionality looks similar, right? Where I can, say maybe this one, I know that this one has a 5-year statute of limitations. So instead of choosing 3, which is our default, I'm going to go with 5 here and select it. Now the purple box should look familiar. It's going to operate just as the clauses did when we sent them to the external party. It's not going to look, right? You're not going to see the title. You're not going to see that it's from a clause selector. It will just look like plain text in your document. And so I hope you guys are kind of seeing the use case here. If you're not fully seeing the use case, we're here to help. We're here to help. What I'm going to do actually is, if this is interesting to you, or if you want to talk about if you want to talk with a Concord user or a Concord expert, our Concord internal people, I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now for you to go to that link, and you can sign up for time directly with us to talk about these features. Now, I will cover this real quick. The clause library and the clause selector, they're an enterprise level feature. They're one of many things that we have on Concord in the enterprise feature, like SSO, like subsidiary management, things that you really add so much value to your Concord account. But anyway, I just want to cover that. This is an enterprise level feature, but it's an extremely valuable one, as I hope you're seeing. If you're an enterprise customer, still go to that link. If you want to use the clause library, if you want to help tailor the clause library to your business, follow that link, sign up for time with us. We're happy to help. We're here to support and to serve you. So we're at the end of my time and my prepared information. I want to open up to general Q&A. Actually, let's start. Does anybody have any questions just over the clause library, the things that I've included here? Haven't explored the clause selector a lot, but it's interesting to me that it appears you have to manually enter each clause option instead of being able to select from the existing clause library. This is a good point. I think our idea here is that it's used for templates. And so you'll notice from the draft, I didn't have to type in new clauses, but I think that's a great feature request as well. So that when I think if I'm understanding right, the ability to go to the clause selector, maybe choose from a drop down of your clauses, I think that would be beneficial. and we're going to record that as well. Yep, I hear you. I hear you. I think that's a great one. Keep going in the chat. Keep going in the chat. I want to bring up one other thing. I think I don't even know if I covered this in the beginning, but this is the Advanced Features webinar series. It's a series. So currently we're talking about Clause Library, but we're going to have 3 more Advanced Features webinars coming up that I want to bring your attention to. If you liked this, if you liked learning about features either that you're paying for, that you could take advantage of, our next webinar is going to be Advanced Features Custom Branding, where we'll talk about the benefits of custom branding if you are an enterprise customer. The next one that we'll have is over subsidiary management. And we currently have a customer actually plan to come in and show you guys how they use subsidiary management. And then the final webinar that we'll have is the API. If you want to build your own custom integration with your third-party platforms or maybe your own internal platform, you can use subsidiary management and join that one. All right, we have a question in here. Did I hear that updating a clause in the library would update the same clause in all agreements under negotiation where the clause has been used? Not quite. The updating a clause from the clause library will update templates that it's on. It will update templates that it's on. So updating a clause from the clause library will update those templates. Great question. All righty, guys. Any other questions for me here? I can't tell you how much I appreciate the interaction, the questions, the comments, dealing with my stupid questions, and I hope you laughed at my one stupid joke that I did pre-plan. We only have a couple more seconds for this. We're going to close out here. If you have any outstanding questions, please sign up for time on that link. We have subject matter experts, people that are trained to help you build Concord to match your needs. Go to that link. We'd be happy to help you out. Yeah, thanks all for attending, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.